Hello everyone, we are tasting our 2011 Green Valley Pinot Noir.
The Green Valley is a sub-appellation of the Russian River Valley. It's essentially the western quarter of the appellation. Starting back in 2005, when John Charles Boisset really wanted us to dive deeply into exploring the terroirs of Sonoma County, this seemed like the first place to really start exploring deeply, as it was essentially our backyard across the laguna. We found 3 small growers who make up this bottling today, even 7 vintages later. Anita Rodera at the Schweisford Vineyard, Dick and Sally Gibberti at the Gibberti Vineyard, and Fred and Dot Schlett at the Ferguson Ranch all have farmed for us, and each of their personalities, I think, comes out in this wine. You get a little bit of the concentration that Anita brings, and her fruit actually makes up about half the blend, but then you get that brightness that you get from Dick and Sally from the Gibberti Vineyard, where you have a lot of those aromatic and very complex flavors that form on that Harrison Grade Road site. And then finally, Fred and Dot really give us some gravitas and some deeper, darker fruit characteristics to help balance this blend out. Each individual one of those sites could probably be a standalone wine, but together we feel they make an even stronger example and really showcase what a fantastic terroir we get to work with out in the Green Valley, and one of the reasons why it is considered one of the homes of great Pinot Noirs in California. So cheers everyone, enjoy. So the 2011 Marin Pinot Noir comes from an area of growing just south of Sonoma County. Marin is actually this peninsula right behind me on our wonderful map. You guys should come and do a tasting in our Appellation room where you can see wines like this compared to other wines from throughout the area. But it's a really distinct growing region because it's surrounded by water on 2 sides, the Pacific Ocean as well as San Pablo Bay, making it a very cold growing region, perhaps the coldest in the state. Combined with the same soil types that we see in the best growing regions of Sonoma County, the sandstone-based soils, we really feel this is one of the premier spots in California that is just starting to be discovered. We work with 3 small vineyards down there in this 2011, all done in open-top fermentation style, native yeast as much as possible. 2011 was a challenging year. It was very, very cold and was a long growing season. So these wines, while not as big and ebullient as like the 2009, for example, have that tannic backbone and the acidity that really age and reward the evolution in the glass. And I think you see this in this 2011. Aromatically, you have elements of both florality, violets, and small little dark flowers and things like that, as well as those little red fruits, currants, maybe a touch of cranberry. And then on the palate, that tannin comes through. You have that really fine-grained, velvety. It just carries on, as well as just surrounding all points in your mouth. It's a wine that, while in some dimensions is small, in others is quite large and very impressive. And just a very enjoyable one, and one that we feel is one of the benchmarks from the area. So cheers. The Sonoma Stage Vineyard is located between the hills of Petaluma and Sonoma on an east-facing slope that gives it lots of sunshine in the morning and protects it from the western flowing fog coming out of the Petaluma Gap. The soils that it's planted on are heavy clays that really give it a lot of energy as it goes into a long, slow growing season. It's one of the first vineyards we work with to bud out. It's one of the last that we pick typically. In a year like 2008, where there was quite a bit of heat and a fairly short growing season, we ended up with a wine that has a lot of intensity and a lot of those leathery, dark, kind of earthy characteristics coming out of it. And that's really what dominates on the palate, but then underneath you start to see these red fruits and these floral aromatics come out, making it one of the more complex wines that we have in our offerings. So on the nose right now you get a lot of those spices, you get those leather elements, you get just a touch of that kind of decomposing mushroom forest floral element. But the raspberry's still there, and some elements of plum that are starting to come out as well. And then to me, this wine is a huge portion of it is its texture, the way it just wraps around your tongue. The intensity it has, but the way it just leaves nice and clean on the finish makes for a beautiful wine. One of those Pinot Noirs that definitely shows how age helps them develop and helps them just become even more fantastic and interesting wines to enjoy. So cheers.